And, spiritual workout is one of my favorite things to do. I'm really glad that you all have, 3 sessions a week, of which, especially being at home in pandemic land, makes it so much more easier to be in attendance for most of those sessions. But there have just been so many changes for me in the last year in healing space, again, in ascension and healing my own trauma and learning how to love myself. And a lot of those things, again, came, it was piece by piece, or it's like a domino effect. And so I can't say like, oh, spiritual workout has done, just done this thing, because there's been a myriad of healing and energetic different things coming to me over the course of the last year. But I will say that having spiritual workout as like a regular tempo in my life has been really helpful in that transformative process, because I particularly thrive in, what's the word? Like stability. I particularly thrive on like a schedule and having sort of set, what? Routine. Yeah. I thrive in sort of structure. That's the word I'm looking for. I particularly thrive in structure. And so having the structure of spiritual workout be, Monday we can do whatever we want. Tuesday we can focus on tapping. Wednesday we can focus on intention. But at any given time we can do anything. It's even just having that support that 3 times a week we can look at whatever issues we're going through from this spiritual lens, looking at the principles or the concepts, that having that structure is a really big support for my life and being able to grow and develop spiritually. Those are hard. Stephen is amazing. He's really kind and really caring and really thoughtful and and accessible and patient and just, gosh, I'm a really stubborn kind of firebird. You've heard, I need a gun, like I just, I will temper tantrum, just crazy. And he never goes off, not on just me or anyone else. Like I've never seen him lose his cool or get irritated or visibly flustered. He's just this like really calming, helpful presence again, in moving through these transitions to 3D to 5D. But he stays on message, always going back to the concepts and not deviating from that. And I recently, worked with him on a challenge, and he just kept asking me like, well, what are you believing? To the point where it's like, I'm going to get tattooed right here on my arm. Like, what are you believing? So that whenever I'm going through some sort of challenge, I just look at my arm. I'm like, yes, what am I believing? Because it all boils down to that being the root of whatever disturbance I'm having. And I'm living my life, I'll be like going through something and I'm like, oh, well, Stephen would say this, or Stephen would say this, or Stephen would, and it's like, he's in my head now, like, but it's always bringing me back to the concepts and, specifically, what are you believing, or judgments separate us or whatever, which is, bringing me back from wherever I'm at to in alignment with, the concepts, which is really helpful to, again, move through just life in a certain, looking through a certain lens. Whatever, my first intention was a happiness intention, like I didn't want anything tangible. I just wanted to feel better, than how I was mostly feeling all the time. And so I think I was just really intrigued by the idea that you could live intentionally, you could set a goal to do something and then work in that direction. But as I continue to work in spiritual workout, aside from intentions and looking at, ascension and those processes, it's just supported my growth and desire to live life differently, intentionally, having these moments. And you've been witness to that often my intentions aren't something tangible, like, oh, I want to set an intention for how to get through this holiday season. Oh, I want to set an intention for how to grieve my dog. That being able to set an intention for just how I want to move through the world instead of what I feel like is just having been at the mercy of the world and just flailing about has been, I think for me, sort of the biggest helpful piece, because I do have intentions for tangible things, relationship, career, my book. But at the end of the day, for me, being peaceful and happy and, joyful are the more important things, because all of those things are external and they may happen, or as Steve always says, like, it's not linear. There's the how and when, and I get really caught up in the how and when, and it's not now, and then I'm not happy. So it's like, well, how can I just be happy and feeling good and living life as life presents itself? That kind of supersedes all of my tangible intentions. I mean, even though I started with a happiness, like I did set intentions for things, but as we moved through in the last year, it just kind of kept seeing that like the more intangible things are more important or more pressing, like my trust intention. How can I even have any of those things if I don't have trust?
There you go.
Technique. But before spiritual workout, I had not heard of EFT tapping, and EFT tapping is one of my tools in an arsenal of tools. But I even had to make a chart for myself of like, here's some mental tools like affirmations and thought processes, and then here's some physical tools like tapping. Or now I specifically have been dealing with or healing a lot of trauma, like a PTSD. And so tapping has been one of the super helpful physical tools for me, because specifically with this heightened PTSD response, I have been recently having panic attacks, and tapping is one of those ways to get back into my body, where once I'm in a flight or fight state, like my body has now hijacked my brain. And so I have to, having learned this, get to a physical tool to help bring me back into just my body. And so tapping is something that I share with friends all the time. I always tell them like, hey, try this, Google it, look at it. Like it works for, intentions and being out of alignment and trying to find those beliefs or whatever's underneath the thing. But for me specifically, I think the biggest, most helpful part was that, going through this trauma healing, like being able to have something that gets me back into my body, which is why I said I also have the breathwork coach, because I specifically have that challenge. And so that's one of my most helpful tools to deal with that. Yeah, I mean, I think spiritual workout, again, I know you guys sometimes post that like it's not for everybody, but I think it is for everybody who has any sort of desire or goal to live life in a more spiritual way. Nothing about spiritual workout is framed around any like deity or religion or any sort of belief system that you need to buy in outside of, I suppose, the 15 concepts. And you could look at those concepts and say, these aren't for me. But it's really, for me, a program that is accessible for anybody, that, we're all spiritual beings having this human experience. And if anybody has that even sort of minimal belief, then I think spiritual workout would be a super helpful place to learn how to just grow and develop your own spirituality.